Welcome back, America. There is a lot of excitement in the state of Arizona, once owned by John McCain and the John McCain dynasty. A whole new generation of Republicans coming forward. They're personified by people like Kari Lake and our next guest, who this week made some pretty big news when he announced he's running for Arizona's 8th congressional district. Joining us right now, Arizona's 2022 Republican Attorney General nominee, Abe Hamadeh. Abe, great to have you on the show.
Good to be with you guys.
Lots of buzz, lots of excitement. Just a few hours after Debbie Lesko announced she was going to retire, you jumped in on the race. The excitement level, I heard from so many people within like 10 minutes of you announcing. I think there's a lot of excitement of a generational change going on in Arizona. How say you?
I think that's exactly right. What we're witnessing right now happening in our country and around the world really requires decisive leadership. That's why we made that quick decision. I think right now we're looking at our country is not headed in the right direction. And this is my generation's fight. What we're witnessing right now is to see what kind of America do we want to live with. And, I was the youngest statewide candidate back in 2022. And now I'm entering this fight still a young man, but I want people to realize is that the America that we love is quickly fading, and it's fading because we have a lack of leadership and a lack of vision in so many of the politicians who go to Washington D.C., who go to the state government, and they're not looking out for the interests for the future generations. So right now, we have to rally behind Republicans, good, solid, conservative Republicans who aren't afraid to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. And that's exactly why I decided to jump in for Congress. And we got a big outpour of support and so many friends and so many congratulations right now. But I'm excited for this opportunity to join Kari Lake, her running for Senate, to join President Trump and to pass this Agenda 47 going into 2024 next year.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of excitement, but Abe, you see what's happening on Capitol Hill, right? Are you sure you want to be a part of that? I mean, look, all kidding aside, obviously you do. But as far as affecting change, seeing what's happening as far as the speaker battle, what do you foresee happening? Who do you think is the right person to lead Republicans as the speaker?
I think conservatives right now, you're seeing two factions of the same bird and they're not getting along. What I keep telling folks is that the Republican Party needs both wings in order to soar. And we need to understand that we have the real enemy right now is the radical left-wing lunatics that we're witnessing, like Rashada Tlaib, who yesterday despicably was promoting pro-Hamas propaganda and crying on Capitol Hill. That's who the true threat is. And when people talk about chaos caucus, I look at that side of the faction. It's not necessarily Republicans. It's the left-wing lunatics who have captured the Democrat Party, who are unwavering in their support of basically communism. I look back at Ronald Reagan's 1964, A Time for Choosing speech, and so much of what he said is now coming true today. And I think that's why Republicans are in such a state of shock. Every single institution has been captured or is on its way to being captured. So I know it's a circus out there, but I hope that, when you have John Fetterman, he's clearly a part of the circus, and Rashada Tlaib and AOC and Ilhan Omar. But what I'm hoping for is, with my background, my military leadership, my prosecutorial experience, and just my family background, I think I have a lot to offer right now to bring some sanity back to Congress, bring some sanity back to this country, because again, we are fighting for the soul of the United States of America, and it's quickly being evaporated. And right now, I hope Arizona's leadership, through Kari Lake, through myself, I hope we're going to be able to be the standard bearer going forward.
Yeah, I think a lot of other Republicans are looking for that as well in you too. I want to talk a little bit about your career. Obviously, you served in the Army Reserve as a captain. You spent time in the Middle East. When you see what just happened in Israel with Hamas, and you look at the decisions that Joe Biden made to empower Iran, which is really carrying out a proxy war with Hamas and Hezbollah, how much trouble has he put our country in, and what is the solution now to pushing Iran back into a box?
It's an immense danger that's happening right now. When I was in Saudi Arabia, we were getting rocket attacks from the Houthi rebels in Yemen, and Yemen is border Saudi Arabia, but people don't realize most of Saudi Arabia is desert, and Riyadh and Jeddah are quite far from Yemen. So these rockets coming in from the Houthi rebels are very sophisticated. They're coming in from Iran. Iran is supplying the Houthis, they're supplying Hezbollah in Lebanon, they're supplying weapons to Hamas. It's a complicated region, but it really doesn't take a whole lot of it's not complicated to solve the problems. I think President Trump went in there when he moved the capital when he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, everybody
Right.
thought he was going to start World War III, and nothing happened of it, right? I think people understood that when we project strength, it shows fear and it actually commands respect to our adversaries. So when you're looking at all around, I remember when Qasem Soleimani was killed by President Trump, who is the former head of the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps. Everybody said it was going to cause World War III. It didn't happen. But Joe Biden is allowing a power vacuum to occur in the Middle East, and that's why he's being snubbed by Egypt, by Jordan. I mean, how embarrassing is the president is getting canceled meetings with the leaders so in the Middle East. So we're witnessing a complete diplomatic crisis happening, not just in the Middle East, but right now in the Middle East it's especially highlighted. But you look at a war in Europe. We're on the cusp of a war with Serbia and Kosovo, or Azerbaijan, Armenia. It's every single instance, and who's benefiting from this? Well, certainly the radical Islamist terrorists and the Iranian regime, but especially China. China is very calculating, and John and Amanda, I want to hone in on the fact that just this year we had a Chinese spy balloon fly across the entire United States. President Biden did not shoot it down. He allowed it to go over sensitive sites. And then what we discovered later on is that China has secret police stations across our cities. But what's even more concerning is that China had in California a bioweapons lab that had the potential to produce viruses. And nobody seems to want to talk about this. China is a big threat, and they're causing a lot of this chaos. But in many ways, they're sitting back. And, I think Napoleon said it best: never interrupt an enemy that's defeating itself. And we're witnessing the Biden administration is collapsing and diplomatically in all places across the world.
That's a great description.
Yeah. And Chinese are pouring across our southern border, 2,000 since October 1st. I wanted to ask you very quickly before we let you go. At the top of the show, we had Ohio's former Secretary of State, Tim Blackwell, on, and he talked about this three-front war that America is looking at. Obviously, the situation in Ukraine, which Americans are increasingly souring on, the situation in Israel, but our southern border. The last time we had Carrie Lake on, she was talking about the numbers as far as support for building a wall. 72% of independents, 62% of Democrats, 86% of Republicans support the notion of building a wall. I know that's got to be a huge part of your platform.
Absolutely. It's common sense. I mean, it's what's happening. The left-wing lunatics have taken over the Democrat Party, but they've taken over the media corporations. They've taken over the businesses. So, the wall is such a necessary part to border security. And that's why when we're going to Congress with President Trump as the leader of the country, we're going to build that wall and complete it once and for all.
I predict we might hear something about that tonight from President Joe Biden. Well, Abe, great to have you on the show, my friend.